I don't know what it is with my movie choices lately, but I gotta get this one out of the way. Weekend at Bernie's 2. Part 2 of the exciting saga. Well, okay, but the 80s gave us good comedy movies, and some of them I can look back on because I haven't seen them probably since the 80s, and enjoy them. This one's actually from the 90s. I think it's 93. It's a sequel to a movie that ended the 80s, Weekend at Bernie's, which came out in 1989. It's this big surprise hit. It's a movie about two guys who go to spend a weekend on their boss's estate or something like that, and unexpectedly the boss dies. Now it turns out that the boss was a jerk, and he was setting those two guys up to be scapegoats in one of his schemes. But hitmen get to him and they kill him, and they arrive to meet Bernie at his place, and he's dead. And then they suddenly kind of figure things out. People are acting like he's still alive, but just like out of it, drunk, whatever, party guy. So they decide, people don't really know he's dead. We didn't kill him. We don't want anybody to know that we were even here, or that we were here while he was dead. They hatch this plan, and also to get away from other hitmen that are coming from them. They find their boss dead, and they end up having to convince everybody that he's still alive in order to get out of the situation that they're in. Okay, so that was a surprise hit in 1989. People thought it was really funny because, they saw the commercial and they see, just this dead guy, flopping around, running into a wall or getting hit by a car or something like that, or getting, them manipulating his corpse arms or whatever. Okay, that was pretty unique. You hadn't really seen anything like that before, and it was kind of funny. And if I had to give a letter grade to the original Weekend at Bernie's, I would say maybe it's something like a C+. But then 4 years later, they decided, hey, this was a big hit for us, so why don't we make a sequel? Everybody was jumping on the sequel bandwagon. And they figured, okay, we had a comedy hit with this first one, Weekend at Bernie's, and people laughed at the dead guy flopping around and getting hurt and whatever, because he's dead. Who cares, right? But it's, when you think about it, it's pretty disrespectful. But it turns out Bernie's a jerk, so it's okay. So the sequel comes around, and they said, let's do it again. And Larry and Richard, our two main characters, portrayed by Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman. These two guys, they work for Bernie, or used to work for Bernie. They got out of that situation with Bernie in the first movie. Bernie's still dead. He's deader than ever. Larry and Richard somehow find out that they can actually make a whole lot of money if they can just do what they did before and fake Bernie being alive, to go and cash a check or open a safe deposit box in Bernie's name, just by pretending that he's still alive. So they bring him into the bank. They dress him up in a trench coat, and he's got the sunglasses on, and he's got a big dumb mustache and a big dumb grin on his face, but he's still supposed to be all dead and stuff, right? It's a comedy. It's outrageous comedy. In other words, everything that happens in this movie is so completely unbelievable that it's you're really stretching this premise thin. I was disappointed, for one, in this sequel, because I read on the back of the box, I read that they bring Bernie back to life as a zombie. And I was like, cool. I did Terry Kaiser as Bernie in the first one, because all he had to do was just kind of flop around and not really actually do anything, and just look so funny doing it. So they got him back for this one, and I was like, okay, well, he's a zombie. Well, that might be pretty funny. He's a funny guy, and it didn't really turn out the way I thought. It was more well, they do use some voodoo or whatever to kind of bring him back to life, but it's a very specific and very limited form of life after death, because basically only when they play conga music, then Bernie starts to get up and dance. And he's the whole time he's got those dumb sunglasses on, and they put him in like this ridiculous looking tracksuit, and he gets up and he dances, and that's all he does. He has no lines in the movie at all. That turned out to be kind of ridiculous and just so like, oh, come on. So bad that I was like, that's kind of funny. So that's one good thing about this movie, I guess, then. But then, Larry and Richard, Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman, lose track of Bernie's body, and they have to like go find him because somebody plays some like calypso music or whatever kind of music that revives him. Yeah, and he like dances away, and they can't find him, and they have to find him and then get him away from the bad guys that are also trying to find him, the ones that reanimated him. It's like needlessly complicated and completely unbelievable. There's a few scenes that made me laugh, like two scenes. The dancing was pretty funny, and when Bernie goes parasailing and hits a tree, just something about seeing like, I'm pretty sure it was a dummy, and when they filmed it, but just it smacking the tree, it's like, holy crap. That made me laugh. That's it. I spent 89 minutes of my life watching this thing, and probably another 20 to 30 researching stuff about it, enough to maybe give a slightly qualified opinion on this movie. This movie is crap. It's anybody's qualified to talk about this movie. Probably more qualified than the people that made it are to make it. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to pick out the bad things because I don't want to remember these things anymore, man. Yeah, and I actually feel bad for the actors that are in this because Andrew McCarthy, one of the two main characters, plays Larry. I actually kind of like him in other older 80s stuff. He was in like Pretty in Pink. He was in St. Elmo's Fire. He was in a surprisingly funny movie called Mannequin, about a mannequin that comes to life, starring Kim Cattrall as well. And a couple other things. He's part of like that Brat Pack sort of thing going on with young actors in the 80s, mid to late 80s. But Jonathan Silverman, I don't not like the guy. I did like him in Brighton Beach Memoirs, years previous to this. But he always seems to play like the sidekick character, or the whiny, nervous guy, and he's just like, oh, why is this guy even in the movie? He's supposed to be like the straight man, but he's the one that's like, oh, I should never go along with your schemes. I should have listened to my parents, and I should have stayed in the seminary school or some shit. And anyway, I didn't really like his performance in this movie. Andrew McCarthy, I kind of like though, but in this, I mean, he's kind of like that super hyper, super optimistic, kind of weaselly kind of character. And it worked okay in the first one. I actually kind of want to watch Weekend at Bernie's, the first one. Yeah, it flopped pretty hard, I think. It lost a bunch of money. They made fun of it on a bunch of TV shows and stuff in the 90s. And it is regarded to be one of the worst comedy sequels out there. But it did have one positive spin-off of it, I guess. I didn't even know much about this, and I don't remember when it happened, but I do remember seeing people do this. Moving like Bernie. It was like a dance craze where you kind of lean back and flop your head around and just kind of move your shoulders and arms at your side. You move like a zombie or whatever, like he dances in this movie, Weekend at Bernie's too. Yeah, moving like Bernie apparently was a thing. That's kind of cool. So it had that. 89 minutes, man. I'm never going to get those minutes back. Yeah, I think this might be my first, maybe second movie to give an official F. You're done. Don't waste your time with this. I hope you took the 10 minutes to watch this video instead of actually watching this movie, because I'm warning you against this. Stay back. Throwing a dead guy around. You can't do it for 2 full movies, man. And for 89 minutes. Still pissed about that.